Hello, my CMA finalist, my CMA friends. Welcome to the very first class of our 100% English batch of CMA final. Now, it doesn't matter at what time you are starting the classes, whether you're sitting at night, maybe it's early morning, maybe it's evening, any time when you've started the classes is definitely a good time to decide to take a pledge and to set a goal. When I'm talking about goals, I am not talking about a goal which is just to clear the exams. No, we're not here for the same because I know I'm addressing a brave set of warriors who have big dreams, better goals, clear vision, and their focus is not just to clear any exams, but their focus is to professionally gain that knowledge, apply that knowledge, and of course, a mission which is slightly higher than the average, and that is mission 70 plus in CMA final law. So, this is going to be our vision. I am sure you must be sitting with at least one copy and paper, although I'm going to tell you what exactly you'll be needing for the class. But right now, if you have a copy, a fresh copy, of course, then please write a good broad heading, corporate and economic laws, and thereafter, you're supposed to write mission 70 plus in CMA final law. Now, why 70 plus? I mean, 70 is something which is an underrated target, right? We could easily make it to 80. Of course, you can. But why have I given you 70 plus? Because we are talking about finals, and 70 plus is a decent score. More importantly, it's an achievable one, achievable by majority. So I am not addressing that 4 5 students in my batch who are exceptionally well determined, dedicated, who are going to focus, and I know who will achieve 80 plus. But I am addressing the majority who, even if you're not somebody who is very well with the language, or who's not somebody, or who fears law, you can still, and I know you will, score 70 plus in law. So 70 plus definitely include 80, right? So this is going to be our mission. This is going to be our target through which, on the basis of which we are going to start our classes. I hope everyone is excited. I am, right? And I hope each one of you is ready to explore the subject, make this learning enriching, fun, everything. See, very soon it will happen that you are going to get your dream life. That means you will become a CMA, because I should rather be addressing, usually when I talk to my CMA finalist students, I don't address them as CMA finalist or hello my students. It's always future CMAs, it's always my friends, right? So very soon you're going to be one, you're going to be a professional, you're going to be a CMA. Then you will have a monthly 6 digit salary, a dream house, a dream girl to marry. Maybe you will get married soon, you will have kids, etc., etc. Right? Now, if you can stop smiling on your dream world and come back to the reality, it would be really great, because right now it's extremely important to understand that when I'm talking about CMA final, it's highly competitive and difficult subject. Not exactly subject, but I would say course. When I talk about CMA final law, it's equally difficult, right? So if I pick up an average passing percentage of 20, which means that if 100 students are appearing for the exams, 80 students are failing. In which category do you want to be? That 80 or 20? Of course, 20. So our focus will never be on that 80% students. That means we are never going to talk about failure. We are never going to talk about that negative. We are always going to have this positive mindset, and we are going to have this very clear in our heads and mind, and we are going to clearly manifest that yes, this December, this June, this next December, next June, whatever it is, I'm passing. That's what my target is, right? I'm passing. I want a spot in those set of students who pass. But how do I get it? How do I get it? Of course, ma'am, will work hard. Of course, we have to read. Of course, we have to plan this, do that, execute this. But then there is one underrated superpower in the world, which I want every student of mine to grasp, to develop, to evolve, and to never leave. What is that? Consistency. What is that? Consistency. Ma'am, really? Consistency? Yes, you have to promise me today that no matter what happens, you will be consistent. The consistency that many try to achieve in their fitness goals these days, right? So, no matter what happens, I have to complete 6,000 steps a day. In the same manner, no matter what happens, if I have studied 2 hours today, I have to study for at least 2 hours tomorrow. No break, no exception, no festival, no socializing, nothing. I'm not asking you for a commitment right from the start that you have to give your 10 hours, 12 hours, you have to do this, you have to do that. No. All I'm asking is that you have to be consistent. You are never going to leave that consistency. That today I'm studying for maybe 10 hours, tomorrow I'm not studying. Because if you leave one particular day of not studying, then you will end up being distracted, being stressed, being worried, being not wanting to study. But if there is consistency, so you know that, okay, today I'm starting my studies and I have done like maybe 2 hours classes and 1 hour study. So 3 hours is fixed. Now there's no turning back, no going back. All I'm going to go is grow from here. So now I have to achieve that consistency of 3 hours. Like we do with our fitness goals. Maybe if you're starting to walk, you give yourself a target that 4,000 steps every day. Then you increase it to 6, then you increase it to 8, and there's no turning back. In the same manner, there's no turning back when it comes to studies. When it comes to your preparation, whether this you consider this to be a span of 6 months, 1 year, till the time you have to give your exams, whatever is your time span that you have in your hand, you must realize the importance of consistency. You get my point? So I will be consistent throughout is what your resolution for the class is, and this is the only thing that I want from you right now. And trust me, once you develop this superpower, you'll be like, I am way ahead than thousands of students, because the problem with them is they cannot be consistent, and I am consistent. Maybe I'm a little weak in a subject, but I am consistent. Maybe I break down at times, but I am consistent. So every time there's a problem, if you are consistent, that problem fades and you shine. You get my point? You get my point? Now, before, of course, we begin with our batch, because today is just the orientation class, and I'm going to tell you every single detail that you need to know. That will help you throughout the batch, because there's so much that we have to discuss, right? So first and the foremost thing, the batch duration. See, approximately it will be 140 hours, 140, 150 hours. Every class duration is going to be 1.5 hours when we start with the actual course curriculum, right? Today is the orientation class. It's going to be a slightly shorter one, right? Now, so there will be approximately 95 classes that will come to you. This includes revision also. That means, of course, we are going to have that main classes. Thereafter, we have that revision, and we also have that Q&A discussion, right? But then this is something that, ma'am, doesn't appeal much, right? Because law is the most feared subject, right? The students are like, okay, fine, if I go on to do self study, if I study this, if I somehow mug up this, if I somehow learn this, maybe I'll pass, right? Maybe I'll score 35, 36, maybe I'll score 40, 45, right? But then it's difficult to go from there to 70. It's difficult to get an exemption. So for that, what should be done, ma'am? And because if I am going to target marks of 40 in law, then definitely even passing would be a struggle for me, right? So how do we study? We, my dear, are going to study in the most effective way. In the most effective way. Before starting any concept, because law is what you may call it practical, you may call it theoretical, you may call it a mix of it. But the fact is, you need to learn. You need to learn a lot of things in law, right? But you cannot simply mug up the book. You can mug up even at the foundation level, because when you're reading the book, you will understand certain things on your own. You don't need a mentor to guide you at every step, right? Maybe you'll not understand the in-depth details and everything, but broadly in 50% of the topics you can read and you can understand. But when I'm talking about the final level, you will not be able to understand. Trust me, you'll not be able to understand. So the first target is to decode what it talks about. Then only we can learn. We cannot mug up the SEBI takeover code in entirety. I mean, we don't even know what they're talking about. Eligibility of issuer, what the hell it is. I don't know this. How can I mug this up? Right? So you cannot. You cannot. How do we study this now? There will be 2 questions from your end to me throughout the class, and that is why and how. Why and how. Before starting any concept, you have to ask me, why, ma'am? Why? Right? So even if I'm talking about maybe prohibition of insider trading regulations, why? You will understand why this law has been introduced. What was the background? What was the situation? Then what was the framework? And then you will be understanding, okay, ma'am, so this should have been done. Yes, this is done, my dear. So you're now developing that law making ability. And after I have told you the concept, you'll be like, how? How to do this? Because throughout law, there are many procedures which have been given. There are many things which are given that this has to be done in a certain way. So why is not supposed to be learned now? How is to be learned? The four background, the example, the framework, that is only for understanding. And when you understand it this way, it stays right here. It stays right here. Unless you are not attentive in the class, it's going to stay here. Just trust me on that. Okay. Now the next thing is, we have understood, ma'am. We have truly understood. But then the problem comes in learning. The problem comes in writing. The problem comes in revising. We don't know what to do, how to do. Right? This is the problem which everyone has faced in law before, and which you are definitely going to face at the final level also. So before I tell you any further that what is going to be our strategy, what you have to do, what I have to do, and for getting that mission of 70 plus in law, what are our 6 broad steps? Let's first go through the syllabus. Okay. So what is on our plate? CMA Final Law. CMA Final Law, my dear, is the very first paper. You have Group 3 and Group 4 in your CMA Final curriculum. When we talk about Group 3, the very first paper, Paper 13, Corporate and Economic Laws. This is what is on our plate. It's divided into 2 sections. Corporate laws and economic laws. Now, corporate laws has the major coverage, that is 60% or 60 marks, you can say, and economic laws is only 40% or 40 marks. Corporate laws has broadly 3 things that we are supposed to read. Companies Act. Now, Companies Act doesn't mean the act in entirety, because Companies Act is huge. The coverage has been reduced a lot. Of course, there are some very important chapters. Probably you have got the flavor of those chapters at the inter level also. So you know that directors being the most important chapter at the final level under Companies Act, which you will study like in detail for hours and hours and hours to get the entire understanding from every different angles. Okay, so that is 40 marks. Very important. Then we have IBC. IBC is short, crisp, interesting, very relatable, and that comprises of 10 marks. Then we have corporate governance. Now, corporate governance is often highly considered to be extremely boring, and we don't even want to study. We will skip this. No, my students are not going to skip it because we're going to make it super fun, right? So this is like a blessing of institute where you get full marks. So there are very high chances that this 10 marks are secured as it is. Just like the interlevel, we have 30% objective and 70% subjective questions asked in our examination, right? So it doesn't matter, it is not very important that like usually what happens that corporate governance, when I'm talking about, you will have like few subjective questions, then you can also have a few MCQs, because ultimately the paper is not of 100 marks, it is more than that, because that you get a choice, right? So accordingly they are being designed, and you also get MCQs, you also get subjective questions, right? So you have 15 MCQs. Every MCQ is of 2 marks, where you're not supposed to write any justification, any explanation, nothing. All you have to fill is the OMR sheet. Okay, exactly what was happening at the interlevel. So I'm just telling you, it's the same thing. Now when I come to economic laws, in economic laws you have SEBI regulations, which is of 10 marks. Competition. Now, in SEBI regulations, also, you're not supposed to read SEBI Act, but there are very interesting regulations, okay, of 3 different topics, I can say. Then you have Competition Act, 5 marks. FEMA, wherein you read FDI also, 5 marks. Banking and insurance together, they comprise of 5 marks. So this is the least important thing which I would say in terms of coverage, because it gives you very less marks, but then you have to study. Then MSME, very scoring, 5 marks. The need of the hour. Cyber security, interesting, 5 marks. Money laundering, of course, if we are in this particular profession, we must know about money laundering. So again, 5 marks. So this is the curriculum that we have. Looks simple. No, ma'am, definitely we know that there is a lot more. I mean, the syllabus cannot be comprised in one page. This is just the overview that we are getting, and we have to one by one deal with it. We will, right? We will start with Companies Act 2013, because that is something you already know. And unfortunately, there is a lot of repeated content. At the interlevel, you have read about how to form a company. Again, you're going to read how to form a company. So this may turn as an advantage for some of the students. And if not an advantage, then definitely you get a better understanding. So if it is an advantage to you, you already know it very well, you can speed it up and you can move further. If you are like, no, I know it, but I still want to explore more and I want to retain that knowledge, I want to be an expert at that, then definitely that is the purpose why institute has again incorporated the same things in your syllabus. So make it an advantage if it is not, right? Make it your strength if it is not. Okay, now, so this is what we have to study. I already told you that how we are going to study, by asking 2 questions, why and how. Now, if I say that my target or my mission is 70 plus in law, then the first step, my dear, is going to be to understand, to decode, to comprehend law, which for you will be difficult. And of course, that is what I'm here for. Your law mentor, Shivangi Agrawal, right? So this, I want 0% contribution from your side. I don't want you to do anything except that listening to me, right? So you have to be attentive and you have to keep on listening to me, right? You have to keep your eyes wide open, your ears wide open, right? And all your focus and attention should be right here. Because when the students are not doing anything and they are just listening, they're just watching something. Maybe you are watching a particular song, and when you watch that particular song, you get deep lost in somebody's thoughts. Then you are thinking about somebody, then that particular person, that moments come, there are flashes of that moments, there are some regrets, there are some, no, no, let me clear the CMA, then I will approach her. No, I cannot be with anyone else except her. She is my first love, etc., etc. So all those thoughts come flashing, right? So I don't want that to happen. You have to be 100% involved in the class itself, right? So for the next 6 months, when till the time your classes are going and you are listening to me, all you have to remember is then there is a Shivangi ma'am, and there is a subject called as law, which I have to crack, and I have to score 70 plus in law and make me and ma'am proud, right? Okay. So the next step that comes across is learning. Now, when I say learning, that is the most difficult thing, ma'am. How do we learn law? I mean, come on. The book has almost maybe 600, 700 pages of books that you have given, or maybe if we pick up the institute study material, we have 600, 700 pages. I really don't know how do I learn this. It seems impossible, and it's not that we have just the subject law and we don't have to read any other subject. No, you have other subjects also which you have to give equal attention, if not more. Yes? So, how do we do that? What do we learn? The question is what to learn and how to learn. What to learn has been resolved beautifully by my 7 set of books. 7 books? You're giving me a heart attack, ma'am. Come on. 7 books are often perceived as so much to study. Trust me, it's not so much to study. It's just studying in different ways. Like, if I say this is the content, you have to just read 2 books. Really? You have book 1 and book 2. The content has been presented in a simplified, detailed manner in these 2 books, which we call as our main books, from which we develop and gain that conceptual understanding, right? Thereafter, the same content is presented in a summarized manner in next 2 books. That is actually the volume number is not that, but I'm just trying to explain you over here. That is the chart book or the summary book, the handwritten charts, beautiful, colorful handwritten charts. So this summarizes the same content. So you're not reading 4 books, you're just reading the same content twice. First from the main books, then from the chart book. So you have read the same content twice. Again, the same content has been presented in the question forms. So we have another 2 books in the question form, and the same content has been presented in the form of test also. So we have again a volume called as the test book, right? That means you're reading the same content 4 times. You get my point? It's not that you're reading 7 books, you're just revising the same content 4 times. Now, when you have to learn, what do we learn? Right? Because we have understood from the main book, we learn from the chart book. We learn from the chart book. And every time I'm coming up with a new batch, with a new set of books, there is something addition, there is something more beautiful, there's something new. So if I tell you, if I take you through, I mean, it is a little difficult, but let me. See, we have different appendices that I have added, like list of matters which require ordinary and special resolution, list of penalty, list of important form numbers. Not just that, we also have this list of time limits, that this particular thing has to be done within 60 days, this has to be done within 15 days, this has to be done within 30 days, right? We also have the thresholds, that if you meet this particular threshold, you need to appoint an internal auditor, right? If you meet this particular threshold, then CSR is going to be applicable, etc., etc. So I have basically made learning very simplified if you want to really learn. Okay, just a second. So the learning is going to be very simplified. You very well know what to learn. You have the chart book. From the main book, there is some highlighted content, plus you have the appendices. So that is it that you have to learn, right? So if I teach you this much, I will tell you that learn only this much. That's sufficient. So first problem is clear, what to learn. You will easily get this has to be learned. Now, how do we learn this? So we are going to learn through repeated ways. Repeated ways means what, ma'am? The first thing, when we start with the classes, you have to sit with 2 copies plus 1 highlighter. Okay. So this is the shopping that you need to do today. 2 copies and 1 highlighter. I don't want any mix and match of copies that, okay, in this particular copy, half the pages I'm writing SFM, then 1 page I'll write law. Whatever copy I'm getting, I'm just picking it up and start writing, doing the classes of law. No. I'm very possessive about my material, my books, everything, right? My copies. So you have to keep your law set intact, ready. All the books, 2 copies, 1 highlighter. There is nothing else that you will be needing. Nothing means nothing. Because the material, the classes, everything is exhaustive, is beautifully designed. If I talk about your CMA syllabus, there is a particular section in which you have to read the connected rule. You'll get that connected rule. If you have to read only 4 points, you'll get those 4 points. Okay. So forget everything else and just trust this. There's nothing else that you need. When I'm talking about the question banks include all your past year questions, your MQPs, everything that you need to know. Study mat, everything. Okay, so don't worry on that. So we are not here, I am not here to just give you anything, but to prepare you. Okay, so this is not just that you're doing a class, this is a complete solution to a subject called as CMA Final Law Paper 13. You get that? Okay, but of course you have to give that contribution of being attentive, being regular, and develop a superpower called as consistency, right? So you are going to do that, and of course I am going to contribute to that. Okay, so the 2 copies are going to be used for what, ma'am? In one copy, you are going to do the questions. Ma'am, which questions? The questions I tell you. The questions that we do in the class, the questions that I give homework, the questions that are needed to be done, the test papers that you solve, everything that's going to be in that 1 copy. And the second copy is going to be used as class notes. That means, ma'am, we have to prepare notes in the class. Not really. But you have to scribble with me. You have to write many things which I make you write. Okay? Let's say I am discussing with you features of company. So when I have written this heading, features of a company, what are you doing? Just watching my, say this, listening to me, watching my face? No. Watching the screen? No. Why? When you have dedicated this 1.5 hours to law class, why not be involved in it fully and be thoroughly involved? So when I'm writing features of a company, it means you're supposed to pick up your pen and you have to write with me features of a company. The point I have written over here, independent corporate existence. Write with me. This is going to contribute 2 ways. One, it's going to help you learn law. Why? Because you're listening, you're watching, you're writing. It's a 3-way learning process which contributes immensely. So when you are in the class, all you have to do is be in the class and just be involved thoroughly by whatever means you can. Secondly, it's helping you learn, and it will also help you in being involved, right? So that those flashy thoughts of here and there, of this and that will not come. Okay, then you are writing also independent corporate existence, you're listening also, you're seeing also that there's no space for some other thought to peep in, right? Unless you're too exhausted, too lazy, too sleepy, something like that, right? So it's going to help you and contribute 2 ways. Get that? So these are going to be the 2 copies that you make. Now, this is step one of learning. Second is the revision classes that I provide after a particular chapter. If you listen to it, there will be a quick recalling. Third is, of course, we try to repeat in the classes. And fourth is not yet final, but we also plan to have some learning session, right? Before exams. If not like that, of course, through YouTube you will see that I have a lot of sessions, right? So it's all going to contribute to that learning. And of course, the fifth one is your effort. So you also have to put in certain effort, right? All this is going to be done in the class itself. This is your effort. If you do regular revisions, there won't be any point when you are struggling with how to learn or how to revise. Okay. So I think this problem is also solved. Next is step 3. Step 3 is revising. Step 3 is revising. Step 4 is writing practice or presentation. Revising will be done from the revision classes that I give you. Writing practice oblique presentation. Now again, I'm going to tell you how do you present the answers, right? We are going to do the writing practice sessions. We are also I'm going to give you homework, right? So that is why you have made that second copy for writing questions. Then comes your step 5, which is the day before exam. So you will be ready of what to read. You have the appendices, you have the chart book, right? So you are ready already with the material. You just have to be now familiar with that material and you will be sorted. Okay, so that is what you are going to do the day before exams. And then comes your the day, the most important 3 hours. How all your hard work is going to pay off in that 3 hours. How you deliver, what you write is more important. So I am going to prepare you for that positive mindset, how to deal with the paper, because we are going to have an exam before exam, and that is going to prepare you for the day. So if we follow this as we are supposed to, then 70 plus is an underrated target, right? It's very less. We can always increase it to 80, right? Maybe some of my student or one of or two of my student can also surprise me by getting a 90 plus in law, right? Let's see if you can be the one. I don't think in the recent years anyone has done that, right? 90 plus in law is something which is really huge, but I am sure this new batch has immense potential and they are going to show me their potential, right? So you can always drop in the message, because in case you have any query, because when I talk about step 1 understanding, there are many students who say that, ma'am, what if we are not able to understand in the class? Now years of experience have made my teaching pedagogy, you can say, in such a manner that I have a set of questions on every topic, right? This is the doubt which can be created in a student's mind. So before that doubt is created, I'm going to create that doubt and resolve it, right? So basically, when you're doing the classes, everything you will feel as to be sorted and you have understood the things. Still, despite that, if there is any confusion, if there's any additional thing that you want to know, you can always drop in WhatsApp, right? So you will be getting, you have my number, and you can always WhatsApp me. Please don't call me because I'm not going to pick calls, because that calling option is disabled, right? For query support, for obvious reasons, because I cannot be picking up the calls all day long, right? So it's not that you cannot talk to me ever. If the need be, if there is some emotional breakdown, the need be, I basically feel after reading the particular message that no, this message, or I cannot explain that particular student through WhatsApp or through WhatsApp message or voice note, then I call the student. Otherwise, there's no calling option that's available from your end. WhatsApp query is available. Of course, you can message also, or you can send a voice note also, because many a time students are not able to explain through the message, how do I write, ma'am, what I'm trying to ask you? So you can always give a voice note and I'm going to revert, right? And apart from that, even if you don't have any doubt, I would want all my students to connect with me. So you can always write this latest batch or 26, 27 batch, whatever you want. Like you can write like that. And you can send a hi ma'am. My name is such and such of this particular batch. And when you send me a hi, I'm going to ask you, have you written the question that I gave you as homework today? Please send me a pic. Okay. So even if we are not connected personally, we are connected personally. And this is a personal and a beautiful connection that we are going to establish over this period of time and through this batch. I hope this particular thing is clear, that what is what should be your expectation and what is my expectation from you, right? So together we are in this journey, and together we have to make this work, right? I hope so far the things are clear. Okay, so you have got the subject overview, and I've told you about the books and what you have to do. Now, since today is an orientation class, I'm not going to straight away jump to the subject or explain you anything, because today I'm not teaching and you're not learning. Today you are free, you're not supposed to write anything, read anything, nothing. All we are going to do is just sit back, relax, chit chat, talk, right? So the next talk that we're going to have is a simple thing, because our subject is corporate and economic laws. The question is, what do we mean by law? Once we know what is law, we will know what is corporate law. That is what we are going to begin with. Corporate law, we have the first act, which is Companies Act. That is what we are going to read. But before that, we need to know what is law. I am sure because you're a finalist, you must be knowing what law is all about. Back in time, it used to happen that even my final students were like, okay, ma'am, we know what law is, but we don't know all the basics that you want us to know. But nowadays, there is more awareness to it. There are more videos to it. In fact, I have posted a lot of times these videos of basics. So now when you are into finals, I believe 90 out of 100 students know these basics. Okay, but still I'm going to repeat it, but I'm going to repeat it in a very brief manner. I'm not going to elaborate it and tell you what exactly happens, right? How many seats in the Lok Sabha, this happens, that happens. No, I'm not going to take a politics class over here, but just quickly brief you through. Okay, so basically, when I talk about law, what is it? Rules and regulations, set of rules, set of regulations. That is what we may say. But then why do we need it? Why do we need it? Why do we need it? Let's imagine a situation. I'm going out, and then there are all the traffic. There's no traffic rule, there's nothing, right? So I have taken a brand new car, and now I'm on the road, right? And I am driving. Somebody comes from here, somebody comes from here. There's a stuck traffic jam. Everyone, nobody is stopping, nobody is moving back. There's a complete chaos, and somebody hit my car. Now, who's responsible? That person, me. Well, I was also not stopping. That person was also not stopping. Who was supposed to stop? We don't know. So if there is no signal, no traffic police, nothing, right? And there are no rules made as to how, when, if you are taking a left, if you're taking a right, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the speed limit. So there is no rule. What will happen? There will be complete chaos, and we cannot live like that. So to live in a civilized and peaceful society, it's very important to have rules. If I'm living in a particular home, it's very important to have rules. Now, who sets the rules for us? Mama at home? Definitely our parents. Why? Don't you have any say in that? There are many rules at home. I believe there are some said rules, there are many unsaid rules. Nobody talks about it, but this is how it happens in our house, right? Maybe we eat our dinner together at this particular time. We eat our dinner only at the dining table. Maybe we cannot sit on the bed with our plate. Maybe we have to return home by 10 p.m. max. So there may be some said rules, there may be some unsaid rules. But if we break them, if we violate them, then there are consequences. What is the consequence? Why did you not listen Why do you have to watch TV while eating your dinner every time? Whatever it could be, right? There are consequences that we all face. Sometimes we like the rules, sometimes, or most of the times, we don't like the rules, but we have to follow it. Why? Because that is something which has been decided by the power, decided by the majority, right? Likewise, when I'm talking about the nation, there are terrible laws which have been made. We like some of the laws because we understand its necessity, but most of the laws we're like, why this has to be made, why this is a rule in our country, but then we have to abide by it. Why? Because if we don't, there will be consequences. If we violate the law, there will be consequences. We will get the punishment. Why? Because there's a provision of giving punishment also. Ma'am, who has given the power to somebody else to make laws and rules for us? We have given the power. We are the ones who are making law. We are the ones who are making rules. Are you serious, ma'am? We have made such terrible laws. Come on, we're the future of the nation. We could have done better. Now you can do better. Everyone cannot be knocked at the door and asked, are you agreeing to this new finance bill? No, I disagree. We'll go to the next door and ask. No, we cannot do this with 140 crore people in India. So what we do is we elect our representatives. So we have the Lok Sabha elections wherein we elect our representatives. They form the member of parliament. They sit in the Lok Sabha and their voice is our voice. Why? Because when India got independence, then there was India's constitution was formed. Okay. Right. There was a constituent assembly which adopted the constitution and therefore it came into effect from 26 January 1950. We all know that, right? What is constitution? Constitution is the fundamental document about the nation. So it tells us what is the type of nation, what are the powers, what are the rights of humans, right? Everyone. It talks about a lot of things. Constitution only tells that India is a democratic nation, and whenever there will be any need of law, Parliament can make central laws. Central laws means what? The laws which are going to be applicable centrally and not state-wise. We are not talking about the state matters and everything. We also have a state legislature. We always go for voting twice, right? One is Lok Sabha elections and others is the state elections, right? So if we forget about that, we're only focusing on that. Okay. So Parliament has got the power to make laws. Who is Parliament? We are Parliament. Why? Because there is Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha plus President is called as Parliament. Who sits in the Lok Sabha? Well, it is also called as House of People, and we elect our representatives. So there are members who are representing us. Okay. Then who sits in Rajya Sabha? Well, that is called as House of States, and there are members elected by members of State Legislative Assembly. Okay, fine, you get that? So Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha plus President is called as Parliament. So ultimate the law making power is with Parliament. It has been conferred through our Constitution, which is supreme. There is nothing above the Constitution. Get it? Okay. So ma'am, fine. That means the government is not making law, ideally. Well, the government in a way is making law because when we elect representatives, they are from some or the other party, right? One who gives his candidature, that person only we will elect. Like if you want to elect your class representative, you will first ask who is ready and willing to become a class representative. So I have given my nomination, I've given my candidature, I've given my name. So you can say either yes or no. right? So that is how it's happening. So there are people who file their candidature, who file their nomination. They are from different parties. They could form their own party. They could associate themselves with with an existing party, right? Now, if in Lok Sabha, let's say there is a majority of BJP. So most of the candidates who have come from different regions are from BJP only. That becomes the ruling government, right? So that becomes the government, or that gets the chance to form a government at the central level, and we call them as central government, right? We call them as central government. Now, because they are a majority, if they want some law to be passed, of course it will be passed, right? So, if I talk about the organs of government, they are making law also. Central government, or the ruling government, or the government in power, is responsible for execution or enforcement of law. That fine, this is the traffic rules which have been made. Are people following it? If they don't follow, there has to be traffic police. If there is no traffic police, if they're not taking action, if they're not if they're corrupted, or if there is bribe that they're taking, etc., etc., who is responsible? It's the government in action who is responsible. It's not the parliament. Parliament made law. Now it's your responsibility to ensure that this law and order is intact, that whatever law has been made is correctly enforced, it's correctly followed by the people. So central government is responsible for that. How central government works? Central government works through its different ministries. Like health is going to be managed by Ministry of Health, headed by Health Minister. We have Education Minister, we have Defense Minister, we have Finance Minister, we have Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Right? So we have different ministries headed by a person called as minister of that particular ministry. All the ministers are headed by Prime Minister. You get that? Of course, ma'am, we know that. Yes, it's just a quick recall, because I want all my students to have this basic info, and then only I can proceed with actually making you fall in love with law and teaching you law and going that extra edge, right? Okay. Now, if we don't follow, there is judiciary. Judiciary is going to give us punishment, interpret law, tell you exactly that if this is law, this is what it means, and you have broken it, you have violated it, so you're entitled to now get a punishment. Okay? You get that? Fine. Now, when I say law is a much wider term, which includes act, rules, regulations, notifications, circulars, ordinances, etc., etc., etc. Ma'am, act, what is act? Act is the basic rule book. Basic and most important rule book. Like we have Indian Contract Act, like we have Sale of Goods Act, like we have Companies Act, like we have Factories Act, we have read n number of acts. Law is a set of rules. If I say Factories Act, it means if you have to set up a factory, this is the rule book that you need to follow. Yes? If you have to run a company, set up a company, form a company, this is the rule book that you need to follow. So every time you have formed a company, you want to get money in the company, you want to issue shares, you want to take money from different people, you want to do a particular business, right? Anything and everything, you want to appoint people, you have to follow this, you have to do this. There is a complete rule book, and that is Companies Act 2013. Now, Companies Act 2013 is passed by whom? Parliament. Because it is a central act. Constitution gives the power to Parliament to pass a central act. Right? Okay, ma'am. What about rules and regulations? If I take you to... So when we look at this Companies Act chart, Companies Act has been made by Parliament, because Parliament has got the power from the Constitution. Companies Act is going to be enforced through Ministry of Corporate Affairs, that is the ministry, that is through central government, through its ministry, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, that we call as MCA. And if at all there is anyone who is not following Companies Act, then we have the judiciary called as NCLT, NCLAT, and special courts. We are going to read it in detail later, right? But this is the broad view that you should get. Got it? So this is how we can say that Companies Act is going to be functioning. Now, when I say that Parliament has made an act, Parliament has said that every time you appoint an auditor, inform the authority. How do we inform the authority? We will go to the authority, we'll knock at their door, I have appointed auditor. No. Parliament didn't tell us how do we do that. How do we do that is being told by the ministry. So Ministry of Corporate Affairs said, see, we have to regulate whether people are following this or not. So I am telling you that this is a particular form that I have given. Every time you want to inform us this, please fill this form and you have to file it here. This is, how do they tell this? They are going to make another act. No, they don't have the act making power, but they have the rule making power. Central government has been conferred the power to make rules. So they make rules. Ground level rules. Likewise, rules are made by central government, regulations are made by sectoral regulator, not government. Regulator means what? RBI, SEBI. SEBI regulates the stock exchange market, right? RBI regulates the entire banking sector. So they are the regulators. So they, whatever they tell us, they are regulations. Central government rules. Act is made by Parliament or the state legislature. You get my point? So that is what do we mean by law. A broader word than just act. Whenever I talk about act, act is passed by Parliament. Central Act is passed by Parliament, which means we make a draft of the bill. Thereafter, we present it in both houses, one by one, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, it could be either way. And when it is passed by both the houses, getting the majority, after all the formation of committees, discussions, etc., etc., it gets the assent of president and thereafter bill becomes an act. We know this. Yes, don't we? So this is how it works. This is how it is functioning. Okay. So that was all about what do you mean by law. Now you have to give me a promise to develop a superpower called as consistency, a promise to be regular in the classes, a promise to follow the guidance, follow the things that I am telling you every day. Because if you do, as I say, trust me, 70 plus is a cakewalk. But if every day you don't follow, like maybe today you followed, tomorrow you're not following, and gradually you're decreasing this, then you will struggle to even pass. So consistency is very important. And from the next class, of course, we're going to actually start with our curriculum. I'm going to introduce you to that, and we're going to begin with our classes. Thank you. Have a great day.